BBC One is structurally divided in 4 channels, one for each country of the UK. Of course, the English regions have autonomy too. In fact, up until 1980, in an attempt to compete against ITV, BBC One threatened to regionalise its continuity, meaning that most of the network continuities were limited to London and the South East alone. While England had to deal with their Christmas idents, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland opted out from the usual up until the inevitable happened. That's where the phrase "except for viewers in Scotland" comes in handy. Most of the islands we're going to see are from Wales and Scotland, because to this date only one Northern Ireland island appeared. The earliest I can find is dated 1980, when BBC One was a version of the Mirror Globe, and specifically from Scotland. While viewers in England had arcades from the Victorian age, the Scots had the central part of the BBC One globe in monochromatic form over random patterns. That's what they did in the second half of the 70s and up until 1980 at best. Keep in mind that this is a recreation. A few years earlier, the effect was the one seen here in this magazine page. Fast forward to 1982, to Scotland again. This time we have a conical gift box accompanied by childish drawings. Next year, for some mad reason, BBC One Scotland dropped the one until the next rebrand and became simply BBC Scotland. For that Christmas, they gave us these 2 discs, twin discs, which looks like the result of what happens when Grampian Television drops acid. In 1984, when those Sassenachs in England had 3 snow people, BBC Scotland didn't want to get behind the times and trends and gave us 3 Christmas trees that looked like Toblerones. So much for so little. Wales, for some odd reason, was simply known as BBC Wales and BBC Cymru Wales until the birth of S4C. The one didn't come until the 85 rebrand. For Christmas 1984, they gave us a snowflake that puts BBC One England's efforts in 1976, 1982 and 1983 to shame. And then we get to the cow in 1984, at the time a computer-abominated lovable foal, or calf, and all the regions were now using the numeral 1, including Wales and Scotland. However, the first Christmas with a cow in Scotland was out of the box, as the Scots gave us a gift box patterned after the continents. A square world, as first conceived by Michael Benting roughly 20 years earlier. What happens to the top part of Alaska and Canada when the gift box is open? Millions of questions, 0 answers. The Welsh gave us a nativity scene presented from 4 vitrals. Fair enough. 1986 for Scotland, they just added stars to the existing ident, assuming it was actually the cow seen from space. The ident was likely made on a budget of under 5 pence. Wales, being less tight on their wallets, because the Scots are so tight on everything, gave us a complete solution for that year, an image of a snowbound church trapped inside a wreath. There are 2 versions, daytime and nighttime, like the average BBC Christmas idents of the decade, and also a clock, the sort of thing last seen in England in 1984. At closedown, they refused to play the anthem, something BBC Wales found interesting, and decided to key the clock over the church with all the lights turned off while Christmas carols started playing. Now, 1987 is considered to be the worst year for Christmas idents at the BBC. We already know what kinds of idents BBC One and 2 used in England. This is also the only year we have idents from all 3 nations, or all 4 nations we include England. Wales gave us this contraption that features an artwork of a Christmas tree that looks like something coming out from an old point-and-click game from 1991 or so, like Myst a few years before it existed. Hidden in the ident is the day of the season, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, something BBC Two did in 1973 and 74, but dropped when a striped pet digit appeared. Northern Ireland was the Scotland of the year in terms of cheapness, but still had some loveliness, as an old house was on top of a white cake with a child's name in it. I wonder if after the ident was filmed they ate the cake. The Scots were the winners this year, surpassing even network BBC One with this stained glass confection. It was later recycled for Hogmanay, this being Scotland and their Puritan past behind them. Hogmanay is more important than Christmas, mind. And now we reach the year of the partridge, 1988. For Scotland, we had a stop-motion ident. Is that supposed to represent a music box? Christmas 1988 gave us a Christmas tree, while Hogmanay gave us a link to 1989 featuring a bell, I guess, a childish bell. Whereas Wales had a snowman trapped inside a snow globe reading a book of carols. My mind thought it was a newspaper until fairly recently. In an island was made by a couple of desperate people who wanted to go to Cardiff Woolworths in a bloody hurry. 1989 gave us network BBC One's last mechanical Christmas ident. Scotland had theirs a little less elaborate. The idea was there, although the caption was computer generated. Wales went too far and created a long animation where the icons were flying to a spinning top, and there was a long version running for 30 seconds. For some odd reason, the ident says Wales Cymru, a bit weird since we were already 7 years into the existence of S4C. This is also the only time we have any info about any BBC Two Christmas idents in the nations, as we see their Welsh counterpart use the same ident using a different backdrop. Perhaps unsurprisingly, they didn't use the TWO and instead relied on the promotional gimmick used to start 1989 on promos for BBC Wales local programming. Programs similar to Trailerland for the Nations will probably last less than this video alone. This also explains why we see Wales Cymru instead of just Wales in both BBC One and BBC Two's idents. And that's it. 1990 just gave us the same ident nationwide, believing that the corporatization of BBC idents was enough to bring a more cohesive nationwide look, and that making separate idents for each nation would cost a fortune. But on Hogmanay 1990, BBC One Scotland still had something to do. One last reprieve before the rebrand, effectively repositioning the elements of the ident to fit in for the occasion, with a party hat over the cow. Basically, the last hurrah for customizing before corporatization. The nations did get minor reprieves though. BBC One Northern Ireland tried opting out in 2012 with little success. Then we have the individual channels for Wales and Scotland. For Wales, lack thereof, because BBC Two W ran on BBC Two Wales, or its digital service, for a couple hours a night. I will do a video about BBC Two W soon, so stay tuned. BBC Alba with their few idents, because if we put into perspective, the channel aims to a smaller minority than S4C. And then BBC Scotland, the channel that took over BBC Two Scotland, and now Scotland gets the Sassenach BBC Two. BBC Scotland, which is also one of the most troubling channels ever to be launched by the corporation. Some would say that the channel is a risk, and the channel is the risk of collapsing. Anyway, that's it for the video. Something short and sweet for the occasion. We'll see you sometime soon. Thank you for watching and listening in 1995. I mean 2020. And that Flash Player still in the minds of your lives. Your lives. Nadolig Llawen, Merry Christmas, or lack thereof.